They say life doesn't settle debts out loud. It doesn't announce justice on a loudspeaker. There's no public scoreboard that keeps track of who's wronged you and who deserves what in return. And yet, in the quiet background of the universe, something is always working, something ancient, silent, and certain. It's called karma, and it doesn't need an audience to do its job. Have you ever been wronged? Not in a small way, but in a way that shakes your core. Someone lied to you, cheated you, betrayed you when you least expected it. And in that moment, there's a storm inside you. Your mind runs wild with the need to fight back, to make them feel what you felt, to get even. You want revenge, and you want it now. That feeling is real, it's raw, but it's also dangerous. Because while revenge promises relief, what it often delivers is something far more bitter, a loss of peace and a surrender of your higher self. The Stoics knew this well. They weren't blind to injustice. In fact, they lived in times where betrayal, corruption, and cruelty were common. But what separated them from the rest of the world was their response. Stoics don't chase revenge. They don't react with fire. They don't carry the poison of vengeance in their veins. Instead, they observe, they wait, and they trust in a force greater than anger, the quiet justice of time. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." Let that settle for a moment. The best revenge isn't to strike back, it's to stand taller, to live better, to become so deeply rooted in your own character that nothing, not even betrayal, can pull you out of alignment. That's not weakness, that's power. Because when you refuse to fight fire with fire, you don't let someone else's actions drag you down to their level. You stay grounded, you stay clear, and in that clarity you protect your energy, your peace, and your direction in life. There's something quietly profound about watching someone who wronged you fall apart. Not because you pushed them, but because their own actions eventually caught up with them. I've seen this more than once in my life. People who manipulated their way ahead, stepped on others, lied their way through doors. They always looked like they were winning, for a while. But with time, their truth unraveled. Relationships collapsed, reputations cracked. Their own habits became their downfall. And I didn't have to do a thing. That's the beauty and the burden of choosing the Stoic path. You have to let go of the desire for immediate justice. You have to stop looking for karma to strike right when you want it to, because karma isn't your weapon. It's a law. It moves on its own schedule and it doesn't need your help. Your job isn't to make the scales of justice balance. Your job is to make sure you stay balanced while they do. Let me ask you something. What do you gain by seeking revenge? A moment of satisfaction, a hollow sense of victory. What do you lose? Peace of mind, self-control, your focus, your time, your future. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, said, "He who seeks revenge should dig 2 graves, one for the enemy and one for yourself, because revenge never leaves you whole, it leaves you haunted. And the more time you spend obsessed with someone else's downfall, the less time you have to build your own rise." So here's a shift in perspective. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to play the same game. Just step back, let them run their course, and trust, deeply, that what's meant to return to them will. That's not naive. That's mastery. It takes strength to stay silent when you could scream. It takes wisdom to walk away when you could destroy. And it takes character to choose growth over retaliation. Because here's what karma really is. It's not some mystical force that punishes people with lightning bolts. It's the natural consequence of who we are, repeated over time. Someone who lies eventually gets caught. Someone who manipulates eventually gets exposed. Someone who betrays eventually loses trust. And trust, once lost, is nearly impossible to rebuild. The universe doesn't need your rage to make things right. It just needs you to stay out of the way. And in the meantime, focus on your own path. Pour your energy into becoming stronger, wiser, more resilient. Let the pain fuel your discipline, not your destruction. Turn the betrayal into a boundary. Turn the loss into a lesson. Turn the silence into power. That's what the Stoics did. They didn't chase justice. They became just. And in doing so, they outlasted the chaos around them. So the next time you're tempted to get even, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, do I want to be like them, or do I want to be better? That one question can save you years of regret, because the most powerful statement you can make is not a shout. It's a calm refusal to be pulled into the fire. Let them burn themselves out. You build. Life may not publicly settle every debt, but trust this, karma never forgets, and your peace is too valuable to trade for revenge. So walk forward, head high, heart steady, eyes on your own becoming, and when the time comes, as it always does, let karma speak. Have you ever noticed how some of the people who hurt you the most seem to be living their best lives online? They're smiling in every photo, posting beach sunsets with quotes about healing and self-love. They talk about peace, growth, positivity. And for a moment, you wonder, are they really that happy? Did what they did to me not affect them at all? It stings. Because while you're over here trying to rebuild, process, and move forward, they're out there putting on a show. But here's the truth. What looks like happiness isn't always real peace. People who are truly happy don't feel the need to constantly prove it. They don't need to post motivational mantras every day, or show off how unbothered they are. Why? Because real peace is quiet. It doesn't need an audience. It just is. On the other hand, insecurity? That's loud. It needs attention. It needs validation. It needs the world to believe that everything's okay, even when it's not. You see, when someone hurts you and then immediately starts projecting joy, it's often not because they're thriving. It's because they're running from guilt, from emptiness, from accountability. That curated version of their life isn't for them, it's for you, for others. For anyone who might suspect that behind the filter, there's something broken, and maybe there is. But here's the Stoic truth. Their fake happiness is none of your business. What matters isn't how they look on the outside. What matters is how you respond on the inside. The Stoics believed that we can't control how others behave, only how we choose to react. So instead of staring at their highlight reel, go inward. Ask yourself, why does this bother me? What does it trigger in me? Because peace isn't about ignoring what hurts. It's about outgrowing it. It's about reaching a place where someone else's illusion no longer distracts you from your own reality. Remember, the people who spend the most time convincing the world they're happy are often the ones who haven't convinced themselves. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to post louder. You don't need to match the performance. Your healing doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be real. And real happiness, real peace, it doesn't post, it lives. So let them perform. You build. Karma doesn't always strike like lightning. It doesn't always arrive with loud consequences or dramatic endings. Sometimes, it starts with something much quieter. A slow unraveling. A quiet loss of things once taken for granted. You see, when someone hurts others, when they betray, lie, manipulate, or mock, karma doesn't always come crashing down like in the movies. It's not always instant justice. Often, it starts with a gentle but undeniable pattern. Life begins to take away the very things they once assumed would always be there. Friendships grow distant. Invitations stop coming. People stop confiding in them, trusting them, believing in them. Opportunities slip through their fingers without explanation. And maybe the saddest part? They don't even notice it right away. Because the comfort of having something every day makes you believe it will be there forever, but it won't. The people they thought would always answer their calls don't. The love they thought would stay no matter what leaves. The loyalty they mocked, the patience they tested, the kindness they overlooked, it all fades. Quietly, naturally, without a dramatic goodbye. And by the time they realize what's missing, it's already gone. You can't fake your way back into genuine connection. You can't rebuild trust overnight. And some bridges? They don't burn. They simply vanish when neglected. I've seen this happen. Maybe you have too. Someone thought they could mistreat others and still hold on to the same life, that they could be careless with people's hearts and still be loved the same. But life doesn't work that way. The things we take for granted, whether it's trust, time, or people, are the very things life begins to remove when we no longer respect them. And here's the Stoic lens. This isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. Life has a way of clearing out what no longer fits, not out of cruelty, but correction. When someone's behavior becomes out of sync with the blessings they've been given, those blessings don't stay. They move on to where they're appreciated. So if someone once laughed at your loyalty, dismissed your effort, mocked your care, and now they find themselves surrounded by silence, that isn't coincidence. It's karma, not as vengeance, but as a teacher. And if you're the one who was taken for granted, know this. You were never lost. You were removed. You were protected. Because your presence, your energy, your goodness, they were never meant to be wasted on those who couldn't see them. Karma doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Watch what happens when you no longer have what you refuse to value. Let them learn. Let them face the silence they created. And you? You keep walking forward, toward places where you're seen, valued, and never taken for granted again. Have you ever noticed how someone who wronged you, someone who said they've moved on, still somehow finds little ways to pop back into your world? Maybe it's a vague post on social media that sounds a little too familiar, a quote about healing or letting go that somehow feels like it's directed at you. Or maybe it's a song lyric, a caption, a random story that feels personal, like a message wrapped in silence. It's easy to wonder, are they thinking about me? The answer, more often than not, is yes. They are. Because even when people act like they're done with you, they're not always done feeling what they did to you. You see, karma doesn't always scream. It doesn't always show up as punishment or public fallout. Sometimes it works quietly, inside the mind, in the stillness of night, when there's no one to perform for. Guilt is a heavy visitor. It doesn't knock loudly, but it stays. And for those who never made peace with how they treated you, it becomes a constant companion. They might laugh louder, post more often, share pictures with people who've never known the full story. But if you look closely, you'll notice the cracks, the cryptic captions, the timing of their posts, the subtle way they try to remind you, and themselves, that they're okay. But here's the Stoic truth. Peace doesn't try to prove itself. If someone is truly at peace with the past, they don't need to signal it to the world. They don't need hidden messages or performative quotes. They simply live, quietly, fully, honestly. So when someone keeps circling back, not directly, but through passive mentions or carefully crafted posts, that's not confidence, that's karma. It's the mind wrestling with unspoken regret. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, if you've felt someone tugging at your attention from the shadows, you don't need to respond. You don't need to decode the message. You certainly don't need to chase closure, because the moment they start trying to get your attention without asking for it directly is the moment you know they never truly let go. They remember what they did, and deep down, they know what they lost. The Stoics teach us to rise above the noise, to find peace not in revenge, not in proof, but in presence, in letting go of what no longer serves our growth. So if someone is still thinking about you, let them. That's their karma, not your responsibility. Your silence, that's your freedom. There's a strange twist to hurting others, one that most people don't see coming. It doesn't happen right away. There's no dramatic fallout, no flashing red light that says, this is karma. But slowly, quietly, something begins to change inside the person who caused harm. Not outside, not publicly, internally. They start to lose trust. Not in you. You're long gone. They start to lose trust in everyone. And here's the irony. When someone lies, cheats, manipulates or betrays others, they begin to believe that everyone else will do the same to them. Their mind, once so quick to dismiss your pain, now becomes its own battlefield. They question everyone's motives. They assume the worst. They become paranoid, suspicious, cold, because deep down, they know what they're capable of. And they assume others are too. That's the hidden cost of doing wrong. It's not always about public shame or losing status. Sometimes karma works in the quietest and most effective way possible, by turning the mind against itself. Think about it. How can someone who's lied to others ever truly trust they're being told the truth? How can someone who's betrayed loyalty ever relax into someone else's? They can't, because they're always waiting for the same pain they once caused to come back around. And whether it does or doesn't, the fear never leaves. That fear is the consequence. The Stoics teach us that a corrupted soul is its own punishment, that the person who lives without virtue, without integrity, becomes enslaved by their own restlessness. They lose peace, they lose presence, and most of all, they lose connection. I've seen this happen. Maybe you have too. People who once seemed confident, untouchable even, suddenly isolate themselves. They can't trust new relationships. They sabotage good things. They become emotionally unavailable. Why? Because betrayal, even when done to others, poisons the one who committed it. It's like trying to drink from a cup you cracked with your own hands. That's karma, not thunder, not revenge, just a quiet erosion from the inside out. And if you've ever been hurt by someone who now walks around, guarded, cynical, disconnected, that's not power. That's punishment. They may never admit it, but they feel it. So don't waste your time hoping for their downfall. Life's already handling it, quietly, thoroughly, and in the one place no one else can see, their own mind. You stay grounded. You stay true. Because when you move through the world with integrity, trust becomes your gift. Your peace becomes unshakable. And unlike them, you'll never have to look over your shoulder wondering if someone's about to do to you what you once did to someone else. That's the Stoic way. That's real freedom. There's something poetic about the way life teaches lessons. It rarely does it through shouting. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks or dramatic justice. Sometimes, life teaches with a mirror, a quiet reflection, a person. One day, the very people who once lied, manipulated, or mistreated others meet someone just like themselves. And, in the beginning, they don't see it. They're drawn in. They think, finally someone who understands me. There's chemistry, familiarity. It almost feels too good to be true. But then, it shifts. Suddenly, they're the ones feeling unsure, ignored, disrespected, ghosted, lied to. They're on the receiving end of the exact same behavior they once thought they could get away with. And here's where karma does its most honest work. Because now, they're not just hearing about how their actions made someone feel. They're feeling it for themselves. The confusion, the disappointment, the pain of being betrayed by someone they trusted. It's no longer abstract. It's personal. They start asking themselves questions they never considered before. Why would someone do this to me? Was any of it even real? And the deepest one, did I make someone else feel this way? That's the moment the mirror comes into focus, and it's hard to look away. You see, life isn't about revenge. The Stoics remind us, it's about alignment with virtue, about learning, evolving. And sometimes, the only way someone learns what they've done is by meeting someone who does it to them. It's not cruel. It's not punishment. It's education. There's something powerful about being on the other side of the story. It humbles you. It opens your eyes. And if they're willing, it opens their heart. But not everyone is ready for that lesson. Some people get stuck in the loop, attracting the same kind of chaos they once created. They blame others. They spiral. They never realize they're only meeting a reflection. Because the truth is, life will keep handing you the same test, in different forms, until you finally see the pattern. So if someone who once hurt you ends up with a version of themselves, that's not coincidence. That's karma, with a lesson. And you don't need to wish them pain. You don't need to watch it unfold. That's not your role anymore. Your job is to heal, to grow, to break the pattern they couldn't. Because, in the end, those who live without integrity will always run into themselves, just wearing a different face. And that moment? That mirror? It's more powerful than any revenge could ever be. Let's be clear about something. Karma isn't out. For revenge, it's not some cosmic hitman waiting to punish people for their wrongs. Karma is about balance. It's about restoring what was disturbed. It's the quiet force of life that brings everything back into harmony, even if it takes time. And, often, it works in silence, so when you've been hurt, betrayed, used, or lied to, it's natural to want justice, to want to see the scales tip back in your favor. But here's the truth the Stoics knew well. The most powerful response isn't retaliation, it's elevation. You don't need to chase revenge. You don't need to prove anything to the person who hurt you. The moment you rise above than the eye, moment you choose peace over pettiness, you win. Not because they lost, but because you're free. Free from carrying the weight of their actions. Free from needing to see their downfall, just to feel whole again. Because when you live in alignment, with virtue, with integrity, clarity, and self-respect, you don't need proof that karma works. You are the proof. Life has a way of returning energy. Not always when we expect it, but always when it's needed most. And sometimes, karma isn't about watching someone else fall. It's about watching yourself rise. That's what Stoicism teaches us, that the real battlefield isn't out there, it's within. And when you master your own mind, your reactions, your emotions, no one else has power over you, not even the ones who tried to break you. So ask yourself this: are you going to spend your energy waiting for karma to knock on someone else's door? Or will you use that energy to become someone so grounded, so centered, that nothing they did can reach you anymore? That's real strength. That's real healing. Because in the end, karma doesn't need your help, and justice doesn't always come with a loud announcement. Sometimes, it comes quietly. Through lessons, through loss, through long nights when someone finally sees their own reflection and realizes what they've done. And by then, you'll be long past it, evolved, at peace, untouchable. So let them go. Let life take care of what needs to be taken care of. Your job isn't to watch their story, it's to write your own. And your story? It's one of strength, of stillness, of choosing the high road, even when the low road was wide open, because that's what real power looks like, not revenge, but peace. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, please hit the like button to show your support. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming videos, where I'll continue sharing simple, practical, and powerful Stoic principles to help you grow. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's the biggest goal you're working toward right now? And what's one thing you'll do today to move closer to it? I'd love to hear from you and support you on this journey. Finally, please share this video with anyone you think could use a little motivation to start making changes. Together we can take steady steps toward building the life we truly want.